Hello, everybody. Hope everybody had a good week off, a safe holiday. I'm going to try to dive right into this week's discussion. Um, there's a lot of information that Dr. Elder talked about um, that I want to discuss. I'm going to be looking off and on the screen because I have notes everywhere. Um, I found this to be fascinating. Um, Not that it's new information, but um, I just had having good discussion, and that's what she did for me this week is just forcing me to take a look back at myself, making sure that my ego was in check. Um, I, she just had a lot of good points. Um, the first thing I want to bring up with her is one of the things she said in the first video where she talked about egocentricity and not being caught up on the word. Don't be derailed by the language, and I thought that was magnificent. Um, because when you're talking to individuals who may be egocentric, you call them that, and they immediately get defensive and want to cut off the conversation. No, I am actually not that way, um, and so I think her saying don't get derailed by the language. You can call it whatever you want to call it. You may be egocentric. You may want to just say that my way is the right way and just leave it at that. But regardless, don't get derailed by the language. I love that statement. She talked about just egocentricity in adolescence and how they are blatant with that. We also see that in chapter 10, where it discusses the mindset of a child between the ages of 2 and 11, is what I think it was, where the example of taking the toy and saying mine, um, but in adults, um, she asked the class, what's the major difference? Some said experience, some said time, and really it's just that cognitively we've we've grown, we've figured out a way to manipulate um, how we want to approach things. So, like she said, I'm going to hide from you my end goal in what I'm trying to accomplish. Um, so I love that. Egocentric, sorry, egocentricity as a whole is kind of why I wrote my some of my artifacts with gender roles in particularly. Um, I was raised by a good man, my stepfather, who taught me that you have to have a balance um, with your partnership, that your own ego has to take a back seat um, for you to coexist in a relationship. And I think that has helped me in every facet along the way of my life. Um, and so, I called my dad and said, "Hey, thanks. We're kind of talking about you this week and how you modeled behavior of treating my mom, treating your wife, and how that has helped me grow as a person in general." Um, the other thing that Dr. Elder talked about in this week was, is there hope? Is there hope for change? But that it can only come if we continue to have these type of conversations. And for me, I think that's the hard part is bringing people that are egocentric to the table and trying to get them to see that there has to be a balance, there has to be a compromise. There has to be some level of egocentricity in all of us to get what we want, but at what risk? And so I have had staff work for me that was only out for themselves, and didn't take a look at the staff and the bigger picture. And so having those type of conversations is very difficult, but as long as there is a conversation being had, yes, there is hope to change it. The last point I want to make was in chapter 10 on page 200. It talked about recognizing the need for an important decision, and then it went through all the different characteristics or points. One of the things that I really liked was um, being systematic. Um, I know for myself personally that I've tried to make sure of my priorities and in my decision making, and rank them in importance. Um, Obviously, going back to school was a huge decision. Um, what would I be giving up or neglecting by furthering my education? And so, in my decision making process, I had to sit down with my wife and talk about, is this a good time for me to do this? Is it a good time for us to do this? Um, Luckily, I have a good partner. She understands what I'm trying to do, um, and my son is young. He'll turn 3 in September, so right now he's kind of modeling me when I'm doing homework. He's sitting kind of by my side, either with a book or with his iPad or something like that. But he's kind of modeling my behavior in the fact that I am studying, I'm reading. So it has been a good decision. But because of that, other things have kind of fallen by the wayside. So I haven't been taking care of myself. Um, it talks about eating habits in this chapter and health and exercise. And so um, while I'm excited to be furthering my education, I know that in the decision making process, um, some things have had to be neglected. And so I just really enjoyed this week's discussion as a whole, and can't wait to see how everybody else viewed um, the material for this week. But that's my take. That's how it applies to my life and how I've kind of approached it in my artifacts. Um, Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.